In 2025, I read 76 books, and many, many, many of them had spicy scenes. He's thrashing books words. His hot dog. This past year, we experienced a lot together. Her tears during boning would get me going. We had glitter juice filling me with glitter. We had juice being sprayed on the walls of a castle by the bucketful. It sprays along the wall. Now, my question, hold please, is which one of these poor unfortunate souls that works for him has to clean this up? We had knotting in a crypt. Just imagine that at the base of his can of bug spray, there is a knot that will lock him into place when he gives her his Oscar Mayer, if you catch my drift. And out of these many books, one of them must be crowned the worst. Yes, we are starting the new year with a bang, pun intended. Hi, my name's Rachel, and today we're going back over the spicy scenes that I read in 2025. I have listed all of the books that had spicy scenes of note that I read this past year. Now, it does need to be said that there is some gray area here, first and foremost, because I did have to leave some out because I don't consider them spice for the sake of spice. Like, just because it is schmexual content does not mean that it is spice. I do think that those are two different things. Like, for instance, I read The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, and while that does have schmexual content in it, sorry, I have to censor for YouTube, I don't consider that to be the same as spice. So like, that's not on here. There's also some gray area here where not every book is intended to be spicy. I think spice is about authorial intent, and sometimes you're not really sure if the author is creating the content with the intent to arouse. And this is actually why it's so difficult to have conversations in the reading community, and also in conversations in like local communities and broadly across the United States regarding censorship of content, because we are all constantly disagreeing on what constitutes sexual content versus pornography. To me, there is nothing wrong with spicy content and or it being written with the intent to arouse. It's about context, but I am very pro spice. I'm just picky about it. So some of these books that we're going to talk about today, it's just bad. It's badly written. It's gross, in my opinion. And some of them, they just don't work. But that's going to be more about me than anything, because I am very picky and being particular about this kind of stuff, this conversation, what works for you and what doesn't subjectively, that's okay. And today's sponsor, which is Bellesa, agrees. Bellesa wants to hook up everybody. So everyone who signs up at the link below in the description wins a free rose suction toy with their order. Bellesa is a bi-woman company whose mission is to empower everybody to embrace and explore and learn about and celebrate their spicier side. This is their TikTok viral rose suction toy, which has 10 different modes. It fits so nicely in the palm of your hand to provide you with complete control. It's so cute and so discreet. It's really cute. It looks like a little rose. My personal favorite from Bellesa is the Thump. This is the one I recommend to all of my friends. This is a toy that does it all: vibration, suction, and it has this thumping mechanism. It is designed to be the de facto replacement for all external spicy stuff, and it fits and charges in a really discreet carrying case. Toys from Bellesa are waterproof and USB rechargeable, and just like reading of spicy scenes is subjective, so is what works for you, and that's okay, and it's okay to find out what works for you, and Bellesa has so much variety in order for you to find exactly the right fit for you, whether that's the rose toy or the Thump or maybe the Pebble, which is this cute little pink one that has suction and vibration that are controlled independently, or the Air Vibe, which has dual stimulation both outside and in. Make your New Year's resolution prioritizing finding what's right for you. Again, everyone who signs up at that link down below in the description wins a free rose suction toy with their Bellesa order. Click that link down below, find the perfect toy for you, and thank you so much to Bellesa for sponsoring today's video. So I'm gonna have to go through an awful lot of clips of previous books, so I hope you're ready to sort of do like flashback style. I will say that while a lot of these are me complaining about the spicy scene, the language, the characters, the physical dynamics of it, some of these I don't have complaints about, and some of them my complaint is simply like lack of imagination. And I'm not asking us to get weird. You can, but that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking for the spicy scenes to not be the same thing every single time. And one of the first books that I read in 2025 was Iron Flame, and then subsequently followed up with Onyx Storm, the sequel, which is books 2 and 3 in the Fourth Wing series, the Empyrean something or other. And I actually did an entire video explaining my problems with this series, and it keeps getting taken down by YouTube. And running the risk of doing that yet again, I do want to show you what I'm talking about, because the repetition in those spicy scenes in particular is absolutely criminal. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, and I'll show you. I literally charted out how they are so cookie cutter. They're doing the exact same thing every time. So first up on the docket to complain about, though I won't be complaining about all of them. Let's see, it's only going to take me like a couple of books until I get to one that I did not hate. No, several of them are not that bad. I'll have you know, this is not completely a complaint video. It's just a lot of complaints. Oh God, Nocticadia is on here. Well, we're going to have a time today. So without further ado, let me explain once again why Iron Flame, Onyx Storm, the entire Fourth Wing series is badly written spice that I think is like badly written to a criminal degree, simply by way of its repetition, because there is a formula that Rebecca Yarros uses over and over again that is so lacking in imagination. It pisses me off. I don't know what else to tell you. First book, second book, third book. First things first, we get a little bit horny, we get a little bit close, and somebody is spearing their fingers through the other person's hair. It's normally Violet doing it to Xaden. Sometimes it's Xaden doing it to Violet, but that always happens first. His hands are in my hair. He spears his fingers through my braid. I spear my fingers in his hair. 1, 2, 3. Iron Flame, second sex scene. His grip tightens in my hair. Iron Flame, third sex scene. I weave my fingers into his hair. Onyx Storm, third sex scene. Sliding my fingers into his hair. There's normally a sharp intake of breath, and or it talks about feeling, action, up or down part of body. So power rushes through me. Need dances down my spine. Flare of heat races down my spine. Okay, so that was Fourth Wing sex scene 2, Iron Flame sex scene 1, Onyx Storm sex scene 1. Okay, 3 different places. Fourth Wing sex scene 1, burst of pleasure radiates through my body. Iron Flame sex scene 2, need coils down my spine. Onyx Storm sex scene 2, tension gathers and coils. Iron Flame sex scene 3, need floods my body. And these are chronological, by the way, so you can see that they're happening all in the same succession. The next thing that often happens, it doesn't happen in Fourth Wing sex scene number 2, but it does happen in Iron Flame sex scene number 1. Mine, this man is mine. They're either thinking that or they're saying it out loud to each other. It happens in Iron Flame sex scene number 1, and then it also happens right up at the top in the succession, Onyx Storm sex scene number 1. Mine, he growls. The next thing we do is talking about power. Fourth Wing sex scene number 2, power rushes through me. Then not long after this, power whips out of with every wave of my climax. Now, every orgasm is described this way. In later books, moves down where her orgasms, she's having a lot of orgasms early on in Fourth Wing sex scene number 2. I know too much about this now. I know too much about Violet Sorrengail's orgasms. But the way that the orgasms are described is going to be the same, but we'll get to that later. The point is, power rushes through me. Onyx Storm sex scene number 1, though, power whips through me. Fourth Wing sex scene number 1, in the middle here, power surges. Onyx Storm sex scene number 3, pleasure and power spiral. Another thing that we often do at this point is they have just been making out and getting horny, and then at this point, the sequence of events is making out and getting horny. It feels like lightning, it feels like fire, it feels like flame. Where does it feel like flame? Typically racing up and down her spine. And then it moves on to him starting to work his way down on her, but he typically stops at her breast. So Fourth Wing sex scene number 2, he sucks at the peak of my breast. Onyx Storm sex scene number 1, teeth graze my breast. Iron Flame sex scene number 1, teeth break over my nipple. Iron Flame scene number 1, the sensitive peak of my breast is in his mouth. And so we're right in the middle here. So we're 3 for 3 just on this page alone. It is at this point that he then goes down on her. And the only variation here is when he sticks 2 fingers inside of her, either before or after he fuses his mouth onto her. So he touches her and he says something along the lines of, in one sex scene, he says, "You're so fucking hot." The other scene, he says, "You feel like hot, slick silk." Then he slips 2 fingers inside of me. Iron Flame sex scene number 1. Literally right, this is where I said slips 2 fingers inside of me. This line right here slides 2 fingers inside me. And she calls his fingers talented. These lines are right next to each other, say for like one step up. So we are beat for beat. Again, I need to emphasize that. That's what happens also in Onyx Storm, sex scene part 1. I've made fun of at least 5 times the whole line, we're a tangle of tongues and teeth, and how I was like, oh, it's popping up again, except in Iron Flame, it was, we're a frenzy of questing hands and mouths. Well, Onyx Storm also has a similar line. So we are 3 for 3 on we're a blank of blank and blank, talking about them making out. And it's normally talking about tongues and teeth or mouths. Normally it says Violet he groans, so that's in Fourth Wing, sex scene number 2 right here, and in Onyx Storm, sex scene number 1. In at least 2 sex scenes, it says that when he enters her, and again, it's like, his cock nudged at my entrance, so then when he's in there, it says he's seated at the hilt, which we have to let go because that's very common in romantasy. Everybody went to the Sarah J. Maas School of Writing, we have to let it go, right? What we're not going to let go is every single time I have to read the same sentence, which is, he's in there, the pressure, the stretch. That was in Fourth Wing, sex scene number 2. This is Onyx Storm, sex scene number 2. The pressure, the stretch. Onyx Storm, sex scene number 3. So twice in the book, the pressure, the stretch, the depth. Also, we heard in 2 different books that he is fucking her with the thick stab of his tongue when he was going down on her. So it's always that he goes down on her with the variation one time of her going down on him. The amount of times that fire is listed here is like absolutely bonkers. Like we can't get a synonym? I guess not, considering that I'm looking at the same scene 8 times. The next thing that happens is they mind speak to each other in every single sex scene. Fourth Wing, sex scene number 2, Iron Flame, sex scene number 1, Fourth Wing, sex scene number 1. He can't get into her head in Onyx Storm, sex scene number 2, because they are outside of the continent where there is no power, and therefore they still talk about it, and he says, I miss being inside your head, because they are inside each other's head in basically every sex scene. Iron Flame, sex scene number 3, he talks to her in his head. The next thing is happening is that he is thrusting. So he sets a rhythm that has me aching. There's the word aching again. I like how he says, how do you want me? In Onyx Storm, and then they just do the same sex that they always have. How do you want me? Same old. It's like when I tell Carlos what I want for dinner, it's always gonna be sushi. He sets a hard, deep rhythm. Onyx Storm, sex scene number 3, he starts a deep pounding rhythm. My power whips, cracking through the room, shattering like glass. The last waves of my orgasm leave me shuddering. That was Fourth Wing, sex scene 2. This is Iron Flame, sex scene number 1. Lightning courses through me. It releases with a snap, flaring bright outside the windows. Onyx Storm number 1. My power snaps, light flashes, pleasure crests in waves. Fourth Wing, sex scene number 1. My power flares, the powers are burning me, lightning whips, flashing. Iron Flame, sex scene number 2. I shatter, light flashes. Onyx Storm number 2. I shatter. The orgasm surges. Iron Flame, sex scene number 3. I shatter. Onyx Storm, sex scene number 3. Lightning strikes. She orgasms. And then she catches the scent of smoke because furniture is on fire. And it says that she smells smoke there, but she also smells smoke in Fourth Wing, sex scene number 1. Because typically they break furniture and start fires, and their power flashes, and they orgasm, and it's always cresting in waves. You're welcome. So my major issues with Iron Flame and Onyx Storm were issues of repetition, but I have several other, there's a lot on this list that they tend to fall in like different categories. So while Iron Flame and Onyx Storm have a major repetition problem that I feel like is not justified, the next book that I read had more of a, it didn't justify the reason it had a spicy scene at all, which was a romantasy I read called A Court This Cruel and Lovely that honestly I've forgotten most of the plot of. The main character is in a world where certain kinds of magic are not allowed or something. Her parents aren't really her parents. She's trying to find her brother. I think maybe her best friend died or something. But really the main point of this was this enemies to lovers thing with this guy whose whole personality is just being sarcastic and kind of mean. And what I remember about the spicy scene is this line that pops up in a lot of spicy scenes that I have an issue with, which is, if you don't leave now, or if we don't stop now, I'm not going to be able to control myself, which is super unsexy to me. He says that he wants to make her scream for him, but you're too weak right now. I disagree. When you can walk to the bathing room by yourself, then we'll talk. But Wildcat, when I finally get you in my bed, I'm not stopping until you forget your own name. Oh my God, where have I heard this before? Every other book that I've read. Is anybody else just not really thinking about their own name during, super special fun time. Of course I forgot my own name. I'm not thinking about it. Kind of singularly focused, if you know what I mean. What, is there a test? I have to write my name on the top and I forgot? I don't think so. Oh my God, I'm going to make you forget your social security number. I wasn't thinking about that at all. It's far away, regardless. As the baseline, already not thinking about it. Like, is there a test in the middle? Like, you're right on the precipice and they're going to ask, all right, what's your name? And you're like, I don't think that's happening. And I'm just begging for these books to like differentiate themselves in, super special fun time. If all of the books are saying this, if I can look up that book, look up like any given book and that line is in there, maybe your book doesn't also need it. I don't think it did much to differentiate itself from other spicy scenes that I've remembered or that I've read, but I think that it's not just that it's unoriginal and it has that really line that I find quite creepy. I think my biggest issue with this, and this is another category, is that the sexual relationship between the characters did not feel earned. It just felt like a box we needed to tick. And honestly, it kind of felt like the whole book was just serving the purpose of two people, enemies to lovers, magical background-ish. Don't lean on it, it will fall apart. So that we can get these like paper people to smooch in a very particular way. I don't want to hear about you having sex. I don't want to hear about your boners. I want you dead. I hate this guy. He ran his hands over his body roughly until I practically itched to push those hands away and caress every inch of him. He left you to die and you swore revenge. Remember that? I remember. You made me listen to it. Twice. I didn't understand how I could loathe someone on such a deep level and then fantasize about his body this way. I mean, I do. It's just that I have never sworn to kill somebody who left me to die next to a river. So I guess I'm built different. Even his cock was disgustingly perfect, long and thick and smooth, and stop staring at his cock. Wish you would. I somehow managed to drift off. Even though she was she somehow managed to fall asleep. It definitely wasn't the worst, but it also is on the list of absolutely nots for 2025. His huge body was caging mine. Oh wait, I said it in the wrong voice. His huge body was caging mine. Tell me you want me, Wildcat. Now they're about to, I want you so badly that I wake up in the middle of the night, a single stroke away from God's that smart mouth. You don't want to know the things I've dreamt about doing with your mouth. Oh, I don't want to know, actually. Keep it to yourself. Secret, hurt someone. The next one that I read was Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. So, funny enough, this one is on the I don't hate all of this list. This is about two college swimmers who are in like competitive swimming. Well, one of them's a swimmer and one of them, she's a diver. And both of them are very much, they're not in a relationship, but they start to hook up because both of them are both into kink. They want to have like a dom-sub relationship and they end up falling in love. I feel like, having read a lot of Ali Hazelwood, I feel like so many of her contemporary romances do the same thing over and over. In fact, we're going to talk about one later that did the same things that all of her other contemporaries did. And I think that because this was such a breath of fresh air from other bad Ali Hazelwoods, like Ali Hazelwood wrote one of the worst spicy scenes I've ever read in my life. I talked about this last year, that I had the ick so hard. I didn't even know what to do with myself. I wanted to crawl out of my skin. But I did feel like in Deep End, we did something different and I didn't hate all of it. Power play works for her because this is the one thing in my life that's not about me. He's still checking in with her, still okay with this. The truth is, I don't want him to check in on me. I want to be free. And he says, oh God, I don't want to read this out loud. Okay, you just want to be told exactly what to do, don't you? Right now, you just want to be a mouth, huh? We can make that happen, Scarlett. You did so well. You deserve to. I would love to make you. I would pay a not insignificant amount of money to go down on you, though you could probably just from this. The problem is, I'm not sure you want it enough yet. And I'm like, oh my God, what a monster. So he just cuts it off there and says, we have a project to work on.
Meanwhile, the Kansas City Chiefs are being dissected more than a laboratory frog.
I will say, though, that something that people brought up in my review of it was that they didn't quite, it was something along the lines of like, they were like, oh, we can't do PNV stuff because we haven't been tested for STDs yet. So until we are, then we can't do that. And then they proceeded to do other stuff, which you can also still get STDs from. And y'all were correct about that. But I did feel like it was, again, my measuring stick is completely wonky because Ali Hazelwood writes some of the worst, the worst scenes that I've ever, and they use the same language that gives me the ick over and over, and this didn't always do that. It says, my body is a vague haze of arousal, longing of hot liquid eagerness. Taking a sip of coffee after reading that line felt weird. There's a lot of dairy in this eagerness. And surprised me a few times, and man, it was nice to be surprised by an Ali Hazelwood book because that's so rare. So Deep End does not go on my shit list for spicy scenes for the year. The next one cannot say the same. The Fox and the Falcon by Piper CJ is so bad. It starts with a spicy scene and it immediately right off the bat is doing some of the most ridiculous language. This is another thing that I've talked about in another video where it was like how to write a good spicy scene versus how to write a bad one, like how not to write it. This is a contender for like worst verbiage. For some reason, the word glitter keeps getting used in spicy scenes, and it honestly sounded like the dude's ta-da, you know, the liquid, if you will, was glitter. And we're already in chapter 2 and we're talking about adrenaline. Count how many times I have to read the words adrenaline, serotonin, what are the other ones? Endorphins. He says, if we start, I won't be able to stop. That is my most hated line in fiction. She says, I don't want you to stop. But what if you did want him to stop, is the thing. He just said, he couldn't. Okay, I'm just saying if my husband says that to me, I'm stabbing. What do you mean you're not able to stop? What does that mean? No, go on, elaborate. She says, I maintained my confidence right up until I saw the rock hard pillar of marble and desire waiting at my entrance.
I think you pissed off my sandwich.
What a great euphemism. Thank you. Adrenaline filled my belly. That's 2. There's my girl, came his low growl. You can take it. You just said that. It was hard to know how much time had passed. 10 minutes? To put it in? Girl!
We might die in here.
What I'm about to read to you is a line so ridiculous. I was reading this in bed. I got out of bed. I walked downstairs. I made my husband stop playing Call of Duty so that I could read this out loud to him. Are you prepared? I don't think so. The space between infinities engulfed each slow, hard thrust, filling me with glitter, with starlight, with spirit and flame and shadow and absolute goddamn magic. This is what it meant to be right. No amount of vibrating toys or swirling, suctioning lips and tongue compared to the secret treasure chest of oxytocin, there's the other one, I couldn't think of it, oxytocin, that he alone had managed to unlock. It pumped through me like the most delicious and explicit of intravenous drugs. I reached up to touch his utterly perfect face, and the sound he made as he kissed my palm was so tender it nearly broke my heart, except my precious organ was too pickled in serotonin to ever experience heartbreak.
Turned myself into a pickle! I'm Pickle Rick! And
so now me and my pals have like made a joke out of using the word glitter. And also, I really don't like, I'm familiar with this author's spicy scenes from this series as well as her other series. She really heavily relies on other language ideas that I don't love, that in her other series is just flat out anachronistic, where we're talking a lot about chemicals, oxytocin, serotonin, and we do a lot of talking about oxytocin in spicy scenes. And there is nothing fun or exciting about talking about oxytocin during it just feels a little lazy, like, happy chemical. I know, I'll bring up oxytocin. Maybe let's try something new. So I think that this is one of the worst language pieces in, it also does the thing where it's like, if we start, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to stop. Stop that. You can go straight to prison, sir. But the glitter cum is truly like abominable. That is truly bad. The next one is gonna surprise you because it surprised me. This one isn't super explicit, but it is a spice scene nonetheless, in my opinion. You might feel different. It's especially spicy because she fucks the sun. Which is literally, I think, what I titled the video. It's Star Mother by Charlie Holberg. Is that her last name? Star Mother is funny because I gave it 5 stars. But I have to say that boinking the sun is a first for me.
Unleash the sun!
He's hot. But like literally, I understand you can't use a condom because, you know, you have to make a star baby. It's celestial law. However, I just think that a little bit SPF would have been nice. I really liked this story and I didn't hate the spicy scenes, but all I remember is it's a lot more like talking about feeling. And the first time that she boinks the sun like takes human form and has to boink her so that she can become a star mother, which sounds bonkers, but it actually works as a story. It was a really interesting story. I was totally locked in. It didn't have the, if we start, we won't be able to stop. It didn't have the weird names for things. It just seemed sort of sweet. Again, it was pretty minimalistic though. And I think that that's sort of what I lean towards, just because not because I mind explicit scenes, but because when explicit scenes happen, they tend to veer towards the direction of giving me the ick more than they don't, which is why there's so few on this list that I'm like, this is fine. For instance, one that I think is not fine is The Coven by Harper Woods. Nope, no. Everything about this is a no. I have nothing good to say. Like, I have a lot of complaints about this. This is gonna go on my worst books of the year for sure, and we'll talk about why later, but this is so bad. But there's like sex witches, and I don't know why, but our main character is also we come to find out that the guy she's fucking is the devil, and he says things like, "You've been after my since you got here." Disgusting. Like, I just find him so and he's honestly no different than like 8 other dudes on this list. Like, what is really differentiating him from the guy from A Court This Cruel and Lovely? Pretty much nothing. They argue some more, and he slaps her on the ass and then says, "Tell me you don't want me and I'll let you go." She says, "I'm gonna cut off your feed it to you," and I wish that she would. And his response is, "That would be very foolish since my is the only one."
Don't. I already know how dumb this is going to be. Hold on. Let me guess. That wouldn't be a very good idea because my dick is the only thing that can ever satisfy you. Am I close? Really?
Yeah.
If this was Haunting Adeline, it would be something where it's like, that'd be a bad idea because this dick is the only meal you'll eat for the rest of your life. Dinner is served.
Okay, I'm not going to laugh. I'm just going to read it.
All right.
That would be...
I'm blocked in.
Okay. That would be very foolish since my is the only one your pretty little can find pleasure in.
Oh, I didn't throw in the C word.
You didn't do the C word. I thought you were going to. I thought you were really going to nail it. But the only ones nailing it are these two. Beg me to make you come, blah, blah, blah. It's like the same sex scene that you have read over and over again.
How about
it's like, don't stop. They break the desk. Good for them, I suppose.
That is mahogany.
Pass the marmalade.
That is mahogany.
And also there was like some weird virginity stuff going on that I was just not a fan of. It also felt like originally it was written to be a younger character, and then they were like, no, that's kind of gross. Let's not do that. Which is why, like, I think people were kind of confused in the comments of it, where they were like, wait, is she a minor? No, she wasn't. And yet something about it was still giving me the ick. There was like a whole setup where you like have to wait for this vessel, sort of like a vampire, to come feed on you, and it turns very sexual. None of this was sexy to me. I was like reading it like this the whole time. I have a whole video on all of these so far if you'd like to go watch them. But basically the Coven was so bad, it was giving me a headache, and I ended up not being able to review it on my own, and I had to I had to get on with my best friend and explain it to her.
Elbow drop. People's elbow. That's The Rock.
Explaining all of the sex stuff to her, I think I gave her, she took psychic damage from it. By the way, they're allowed to fuck the vessels if they leave a sign that they're open to being fucked by the vessel.
Is it cookies and milk like for Santa? If you leave cookies and milk out, they know they're there for the present.
The next one is Raised by Venom by P.S. Nail, which I can't help but see P. Snail when I see this author's name. This is about a vampire and a vampire hunter. Ask me, you can hear my heartbeat. Ask me if I want to be bitten. And he's like, okay, but then you're gonna orgasm.
I don't know about you, but I'm very much in the mood for some sexual intercourse.
It's just so hilarious. And at this point, all I could think was, I'm listening, I'm fucking on I-10 listening to this, and I'm like, my first thought is to pause the audiobook and think to myself, hold on a moment, please. If this is all that vampires do, what is Venom's problem with them? Are they just puritanical? Does Venom have something against orgasms?
He's got this irritating habit of giving you orders just at the moment of climax. So you're both there in the moment, and then he barks an order, and you're, what? Expects you to have listened.
They're like, we are the organization against This mostly had plot issues. I will say, I don't think the sex scene was really a huge problem in this. I don't recall it being a problem. When I think back on this book, I have more of a problem with the book's plot, with its setup, with how the vampire hunter society is run. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think if I had to choose, like, all right, which problem did the sex scene have? It probably was that it was written like most other ones. I don't remember it being particularly egregious. Then they argue again. Then they're making out at this hotel room in Vegas. He goes down on her, talks about her juices, which, please, for the love of God, can we stop that? Oh my God, pick a different word. Any word will do at this point. She asked, do you have a condom? And he's like, well, I can't reproduce or get diseases, so no.
Yes, I seem to remember him having genitals.
No, never.
And I thought, you know what? This book hasn't been like that bad. Maybe the sex scenes won't be that bad. And it wasn't that bad, but it also wasn't that good. Also wasn't good. Because it says that her pussy is snug, like a bug in a rug. Great. Love it. So great. And it says, our fucking was greedy and primal. And that is truly when I wanted to just swerve right off of I-10 reading this. I'm like, please stop. The next one was in fact egregious. For some reason, I read 2 Jennica Snow books back to back. This wasn't on purpose, but I just happened to do it. The first one was Say My Name, which was a dark mafia romance where he like kills her family and then has sex with her. And it's a gross dark romance book. I did not like it. I'm not anti-dark romance. I'm just anti whatever this is. I can see that you're thinking of me boinking. That's not the word he used. You in this warehouse, and I'm the kind of bastard that wouldn't care if you cried while I was making you my rhymes with chore. And all I'm thinking is there going to be another guy after him who, after he does that, the next guy's going to say, who did this to you? And it's just like an endless cycle of men saying, who did this to you after a man does a terrible thing? Or are we just like excusing one man's crimes and not another? What are we doing? I can imagine boinking you covered in the blood of my enemies. A virgin! Oh, good! Because that's a plot and not, you know, misogyny. Meanwhile, she's like, this is so wrong. Why am I into it? Great question. I don't know. This guy is not only a criminal, but he's also a complete stranger. Complete stranger. He makes sure to say in his POV though, I was not a rapist. It's just that her tears during boning would get me going. And I'm like, wow, oh my God. I wish that some other criminal would come in here and just take you out of the picture. Seemed to not have a great time with mafia romance, with the exception of Blood in the Golden Palace, which I gave like a 3.5. That one didn't have bad sex scenes, but Say My Name was so gross. But if I thought Say My Name was gross, The Beast by Jennica Snow was even more disgusting, like viscerally disgusting. Touch me, take your fill. I'm full. None of this made any sense, by the way, as a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I had a lot of logistical questions, but the fact that this Beast's member was just spraying seed everywhere on the walls of the castle, and my question was, who is cleaning this up? I'm stuffed. I couldn't possibly. But then they hear like a racket and she's like, oh, I couldn't possibly touch him.
No.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
And then he tells her, eat your fill at supper. You need your energy when I require my new wife to bathe me. Require? Who's normally bathing you? Is it sous chef from France? Jesus. So he does in fact have her bathe him later after dinner. And he says, wash me, wife, wash yourself. Yeah, Belle, get that flea shampoo for this cat who can't bathe himself. Who is bathing him normally? That's my question. Oh wait, in the movie, they literally bathed him.
Tonight is the night.
Oh my God. He has a massive rager, as you do. And it says that it's as long and thick as her forearm. This is like, I mean, this is a little smaller than average size, right? We're dealing with a little bit less around the the middle here, okay? A lot less maybe. This is my forearm. Are we seeing this? Just in scale, just so we're clear on, I thought maybe you could use the visual assistance. Where's that going? She's a virgin, of course. What the beast had wasn't what a human male had between his legs. See, we're gonna do more character development for his than for Belle, and I don't like it. I was just really, really grossed out by that book. I just, as Beauty and the Beast retellings go, it did nothing to make itself like justified for existing, in my opinion, as a Beauty and the Beast retelling. But those spicy scenes were criminally bad, criminally gross, absolutely gag worthy. Like, sure, at least they weren't cookie cutter, but no, actually it's worse to be disgusting. It's just dripping. It says the shaft was so girthy. She thinks about how could there possibly be so much liquid already if he has not arrived yet? It says that she's thinking about what that would feel like inside, and then notices that it has ridges all over it. It'll feel like nothing you've ever experienced before. It'll fill you up to the brim, making you feel like you'll split in two. Wow, I can't imagine anything sexier. And when you don't think you can take anymore, I'll shove even more into you, and then we'll both arrive. I'll fill you with so much of my stuff that I'll get you big and swollen with my young, and when I pull out, the liquid will pour from you. Sir, you have barely talked to this woman. What are we doing here? It's in her POV, and it says, I was shocked and embarrassed. Me too, girlfriend. Me too. So he's like, explore me. So she explores him in that she washes him and describes his body to us, like all of his beastly features from like top to bottom, and repeatedly says that her inner walls clench. Again, no editing whatsoever. He calls her a good girl because she's doing a certain job with her hands, if you catch my drift. And so there's liquid, obviously. Do you see that? That's all for you. I'm gonna shove this big in you and make you take every last ounce until it's pouring out of you. We just repeat this like at least 5 times throughout this book.
Gosh, it disturbs me.
And then he repeats again that he wants her big and swollen with his young. We hear repeatedly about his big, hairy, rhymes with calls, swinging back and forth. No, thank you. He finishes so forcefully that it sprays along the wall. Now, my question, hold please, is which one of these poor unfortunate souls that works for him has to clean this up? The spicy scenes in the next one weren't particularly bad, and the book is everybody's favorite new dystopian romance for some reason, written by an anonymous author called, what is her name? Elsie? What is her name? Danny Francis. Elsie. Silver Elite by Danny Francis. I have part 1 and part 2 dissecting the whole book. You can go watch that. But the spicy scenes in particular, I don't really have an issue with. If you were hoping for this to get like spicy beyond like vanilla spice, afraid not. This ain't the book for that. If anything, they just are sort of like the same thing that you've read before, which isn't, again, as criminally offensive as The Beast by Jennica Snow, which is gag worthy. It's more that I can't stand that these two people are together. I swear to God, if that didn't have a purpose other than horniness, I am going to McFrickin' lose it. That's what my note says. McFrickin' lose it. And McFrickin' lose it I did. And therefore, I'm like, I don't want you to boink. I want you to run the opposite direction of him. He's a bad dude. Why are we doing this? So I wouldn't say that Silver Elite is on the like contenders for worst on this list, but it also didn't do anything to make itself really set apart. His hands aren't idle while he destroys me with his lips. Oh, well, idle hands make devil's work. He tells her, tell me not to stop, which normally it's the opposite. So I guess at least it's not like, tell me to stop, but even if you tell me to stop, at a certain point, I won't be able to stop, which is just so, blech. I like you like this, bent over at my mercy. Boo! Reaches down and grabs his, what euphemism are we using today? Eggplant. Find the thick throbbing length of him. His gaze lowers to the apex of my thighs. There it is. Who's playing book bingo today? You just got one. He puts his eggplant into her nether regions. His full weight crushing me to the table. See, I know that Rebecca Yarros didn't write this because she always has a piece of furniture break. And at this point, the furniture would have broken. So whoever Danny Francis is, it is not Rebecca Yarros, because Rebecca Yarros can't write a sex scene without breaking furniture. And also, I just wish those two characters, Ren and what is his name? The fascist guy? I don't know. I just wish they wouldn't boink. I want them to break up. The next one was a contemporary gay romance called Someday Someday. And I liked this book. It was actually quite sad. It was a lot about like dealing with trauma and accepting yourself as a gay man. And the spicy scenes I felt like were justified. They weren't gross. I had absolutely no issues with them. I just don't know that I would recommend it as a romance where I'm like, hey, read this if you want to read a book with like fair enough sex scenes in it, because it's honestly so emotionally heavy. I'm not sure that it's really like romance as much as it is like kind of tragic. So, I mean, it ends fine, but like the whole way there is really painful. And so I don't know that I would say like that was really the point. It was just sort of added. Whereas there's a lot of other books on here that was the point. Like the sex was the point. It's not the point in Someday, but I would say that it is written fine. Absolutely no issues with it whatsoever. Another one that I quite liked was Guarding Temptation by Talia Hibbert. And this was actually a reread for me, but I did do a full review. I really like this book because it is friends to lovers, but they've sort of had a thing for each other for a while, and it's brother's best friend trope, which I always find quite fun. These people have a ton of chemistry. Talia Hibbert really knows how to write chemistry. And it's not that long. It's quite short. It's only like 150 pages, I think. But the chemistry really jumps off the page, and so the spice really feels earned. My thing is, there was only one line in there where I was like, oh, I don't love that verbiage, but the rest of it I was fine with. Like at one point it says that he's scorched by her. And I'm like, scorched? What are we doing? He felt the hot, slippery kiss of her through his boxers, scalding his and sending sparks of desperate pleasure down his spine. If her skin was oxygen, her must be life itself.
Quite often I need 2 holes so that I can squirt.
He couldn't lose his head though. This was for her. Everything he did was for her. Reminds me of Swan Princess. The vow I made was for her. So he says, what do you want, sweetheart? And she's like, listen, we've done other stuff. Can you just me? I know you want to probably do all that romantic shit.
When you meet that little bit of resistance, it usually means it's full.
And he's like, nah, we're f***ing. Your wish is my command, etc. And I was like, you know what? That conversation works for me, actually. I don't hate that at all. I don't like the hot, slippery, scalding stuff, but that was cute. I like that. Then he says, I need inside that pussy before I lose it. And I'm like, you kind of lost me there. No one could be ready for this. Her need for him was ravenous, and it had teeth. Teeth! Oh my God, this is a Sleep Token song. Then he's talking about all the stuff he wants to do to her. I want to hold you down and suck your until you cry. I want to watch you yourself on a for me. He's into toys? Oh my God. Oh, that is such a green flag. But the rest of it, I was like, oh, this is actually good. I'm happy with this. Out of all of them on this list, I think that's the one that I would probably say is like, that was the point. That was like a large part of the book. Whereas I think in this book, that was sort of like the point was to write some spicy scenes. It was like sort of the part of the main dish, if you will. I would say that in something like Someday, the previous book we talked about, it was more of like, I don't know, a garnish, a side maybe, but it wasn't the main dish. The main dish was honestly the trauma. So it depends on like what we're talking about, but I think that on this list of books where the spice was sort of part, like the meat, that one I think works, but it's not perfect. The next one, oh boy. The next one is Bull Moon Rising by Ruby Dixon. This was my first experience with a Ruby Dixon book. There was a lot. There was a lot. And he stands up out of the tub, bull ass naked, and it says that his hot dog is stabbing the air. Stabbing the air. He says she can hold on to his horns. Not a euphemism. He actually has them. He's bovine, so obviously his tongue is really long, which can be a substitute for his beef hot dog, if you catch my drift. And I think that given that it's like nodding and he's literally a bull, and she's not educated on this at all. There's a lot here that I'm like, oh, I don't love the way that we're having conversations about this. And there was a point in here that I was really grossed out where he was using spice favors as a way, like it felt like punitive in a way because she had lied to him about something, and I felt really uncomfortable after that, and I don't feel like he ever actually apologized for that, and it ruined any further spice scenes for me in an additional way. He's eating the delicious papaya and he looks up at her and says, "You're not a spy, are you?" And she's like, "What the fuck are we doing?" She says, "Fuck you." He interrogates her. He's like, "Why did you ask and eat my hot dog?" She's like, "I just wanted to." And he's like, okay, then come here and I'll finish eating your papaya. And she's like, no, bro. And honestly, I was really mad about this, and I kind of stayed mad about this. Like, I docked a whole star for this alone. Also, there's just an awful lot of talk about the nodding, and after a while, it's because it's like, I can read it, but because it's like not my thing, not my like go-to like thing that I would prefer to read about as far as spice elements go, it got to be a little bit, it's like having a candy that you don't like very much, but you're willing to eat it. Like, you ever go to the theater and let's say all they have left is those like lemon heads, right? Not my favorite. I like lemon, but those are like sickly sweet to me. And so like I could have one or two and it'll be fine, but a whole box, I can't do a whole box. I'm out. And that's how this felt. It felt like eating a whole box of candy that I only semi am okay with. The next one is definitely a contender for most disgusting, but the whole book is horrible. When the Wicked Play is about a girl who escapes from an asylum where she's been held her entire life. Her mom was a patient there. Her dad was a doctor there. She's a product of sexual assault. She's been sexually assaulted. She got buried in a shallow grave and left for dead. And then she gets out and she leaves and she starts walking, does a whole bunch of shit that frankly doesn't make any sense, and then wanders into a bar where she meets a guy who they are somehow supposed to be, like, you're supposed to believe that they have chemistry. They do not. And when they have a spicy scene, it feels so uncomfortable. I want inside you, he says. How do you want it? She says to f me like you hate me. Careful, little terror. There's a thin line between love and hate. It may be hard to tell which one I'm chasing. Pardon? I beg your utmost pardon. What does that mean? And then it says that he impales her cat with one hard thrust. Heaven, in Jax's POV. Heaven. I thought for sure I would end up in hell, but here I am, balls deep in heaven herself. So they're going at it, smacks her on the ass. He says, you love this? Yes, she says. Whose is it, baby? Mine. I can't hear you. Mine. And then it's the same thing with, whose cat is this? Yours, your cat, she screams as she coats my with her sweet cream, squirting her juices all over my and I can't even, like, thick ropes of stuff, and I can't. It's disgusting. The way this is written is disgusting. And then they boink on top of her fake grave. That's it. Ride that baby. I love the way your fills me up. Oh my God, kill me. And then he arrives inside of her, leaving the substance in there, and then he sucks it out and then spits it in her mouth. I swallow a mixture of my cream and his seed down my throat together. You actually didn't need to say together because the word mixture was already used, and also that sentence is really gross. The next one is erotica about a couch. Sort of. This is Pushing Cushions. It's hilarious. It is about a guy boinking a couch, but it's more than that. The couch is also a demon. Is it making fun of a certain vice president? Who's to say? Not me. Couldn't tell you. I think that the spice in this is really, all of this is supposed to be more funny than anything else. And as a funny erotica, it absolutely works. Whereas this Vera Valentine's other book was supposed to be more of a romance erotica, the one about the door. This one was supposed to be more funny, more tongue-in-cheek, and I think it absolutely works for what it is. And the spice was written according to like what I would expect from a funny erotica that's poking fun at somebody. You want this chicken, don't you? You want me to boink these cushions deep. It almost seemed like the seat cushions parted a fraction for him, enjoying his spicy talk. Oh yeah, this couch wanted to be bred. In fact, he swore he could hear the couch begging for him. Dennis, I need you. I've been waiting for so long.
Furniture Palace, where we treat you like royalty.
But I've touched you for years, Dennis says to his couch. YouTube, please don't demonetize me. Not like this. The couch's husky mental words were barely audible over his own heaving breath. I want to be taken, truly claimed by a man like you, says the couch. And the couch mentions that it's had to watch as Dennis has done other things. So much denial, Dennis. And it says, Dennis hadn't meant to hold his couch. He'd simply forgotten the pleasures of hot skin plunging into forbidden cushion crevices.
These are the tents for the tent sale.
Lou, we're selling furniture, not tents.
I can't do anything right.
But now, chicken to cushion, the call of his youth indulgences came roaring back. I'm going to you so hard you won't be able to remember a time before my chicken owned you. This couch, his couch, had never been used this way before, and the thought made him positively feral. I wasn't disgusted by it. I was laughing. It works for what it is. The next one is my favorite book, The Everlasting by Alex Hero, which I read last year. I have not done a review of this book. And there is a spicy scene in this, just one. But it's, I wouldn't call it the same as like Guarding Temptation or what's another one? Deep End. This is a romance, and it's just sort of like a quick scene that is very earned by these characters, and it's very tender, and it also got a little like, I was like, oh my goodness, go them for a second there. And it takes like 210 pages to get here. But Owen, our main guy character, is a guy who has gone back in time in the Everlasting, and he's supposed to get this knight named Una Everlasting, who's a very particular symbol in his country, to follow according to these like very specific steps in history to make the outcome of their nation be a particular thing, except they find out that there's more to it, and they fall in love again and again. And they're trying to break free from this cycle of going, you know, and meeting each other over and over and over. So Owen is back in time with Una, and so they've been together for a little bit again. They've, you know, done this over and over, and they fall in love every time. And in this one it says, I don't want to presume any intimacy. I've died in your arms more than once. Is sex so much more intimate than death? It's just you were hers before, he says, because you had to be. You don't have to be mine. You don't have to be anyone's ever again. Was this why he had not touched or kissed her all these weeks? The knight swung her legs over the edge of the bedstead, marveling at him. We all belong to someone. That choice, at least, is now ours. But what if we didn't choose? Not really, he says. What if it was only proximity? What if it's not real? The knight let her eyes fall to his trousers and said filthily, looks real enough to me. Ah! He says, I want to be sure you choose freely. That's all. You deserve to be free. And she says, who is free who loves another? So oh my God. So he's between her knees and he says, I would command you if you would let me. I would serve you if you would have me. But then she pulls back and she's afraid because she's this lady knight. She's a killing machine. And she's like, perhaps we shouldn't. I'm worried. She's like worried that she could hurt him. And he says, oh, you're the one who's afraid. Shall I tell you what I want? Shall I make an order of it? Take me however you want. Use me cruelly or kindly as you like. Command me if you can. Oh my God. It made a battle between them, and oh, she liked to win. So she tells him to kneel, and he says, make me. I'm losing it. I love these people, and I'm so happy for them. Like, this doesn't do anything for me. I'm just happy for them. There are fingers going places, and it says, he spoke into the shell of her ear. Of course he did. Of course he would not stop it talking, even now, with his hand working inside of her. He told her how good she was, how beautiful, how badly he needed her. He brought her to the very edge, and she hung there, unable to let go. It was a surrender, and a knight does not surrender. The scholar said, it's all right, I have you. Come, Una, and she did. I'm just so happy for them. So it goes on the list because it's good, it's well written, it's not gross, it's sweet, it's tender, it's a little spicy, it's a little saucy. I loved it. This is how I prefer spice in books to be written. I want to be rooting for the characters, and you really have to earn it. The next one is disgusting. The next one is probably going to be the worst of the year. It's probably going to be the worst book I read this year. I don't know, I still have to go over my notes for all of them, but it's Nocticadia by Carrie Lake. It's disgusting. This is about a student and a teacher, and he is also experimenting on people, and there are disgusting worms involved, and ew, oh my God. But really the most disgusting thing is that he's so gross about her. He says things like she's a newly minted adolescent. Ew. She also, because she has no money and she needs money, she films doing stuff to herself in a classroom, and he finds it and he watches it, gives me the ick. And then of course they have spicy scenes where they say the most disgusting stuff, or at least he does. Damn you, Lilia, god damn you. So then he goes down on her. She says, I'm nervous, and he says, you should be. Again, call the FBI. Your professor's about to eat your There's a whole host of reasons why that's fucked up, but I'm too far gone to stop myself. There's nothing I want more than to feel that obnoxiously pink of yours against my tongue, and we will never do this again after tonight. Do you understand? So then he heads downstairs. He'd ruined me, destroyed me, There's slurping sounds and growls that are lewd and filthy, and she like begs him to let her. You're a salacious little nymph, aren't you? Turn over. Did you think I'd feel sorry for you, that I'd be gentle? I feel this torture every fucking time you walk into a room. I don't feel sorry for you. In fact, it worms my... What? Worms. All I can think are worms. Brain worms. Them next, I hope. Warms my dirty bastard soul to know you ache this way. The way you tease me every day with those short skirts and those pouty fuckable lips and that obnoxious lipstick. Oh, something's obnoxious here, and it is not her lipstick. You don't dress like a priest yourself. You don't think every girl in class dreams of you? I don't give a damn about every other girl. There's only one who crosses my mind a fuck ton more than she should. So I'm gonna finish you, Lilia. I'm gonna give you the release you've been craving, and I won't touch you again, but this belongs to me. You let any other undeserving prick near it, and I will cut out his tongue and send it to you in a specimen jar. You're the fever in my veins, he said through clenched teeth as he drove into me with furious determination, an incurable madness I can't shake. I feel like we've said madness enough. I feel like we've done enough to make ourselves indistinguishable from Gothicana, and I feel like that's enough now. Don't you think it's enough? I think it's enough, personally. You are a merciless vision of perfection. While I said, oh yeah, then they finish and it says, while I settled back on his thighs, he continued to thrash his hot dog. He's thrashing, Book's words, his hot dog. And seconds later, hot jets painted my thighs. Ew. As if he was marking me, making me as his. Making me as his? The sight of it made my womb clench. Oh, brother.
You're scaring my ovaries.
Straight to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. The next one surprised me. The plot was so horrible and made no sense. None of this book made any sense. But To Spare a Noble Soul gained points from me and didn't wholly get a bad review. It got like a 1.5. because of the plot stuff and the magic stuff not making any sense. But you find out during the spicy scene that the love interest is trans. He's a trans man and he uses a strap. And I was like, oh, point in this book's favor. This is about two people who are in a marriage of convenience. One of them is a heiress, not heiress. So many of you were like, are you saying heiress wrong? No, the book said heiress, H-I-E-R-U-S. That's his title. He's a heiress of a temple doing some sort of magical stuff for a queen, and he was demanded to get married for some reason. Again, this is one of the things that didn't make sense. And so they had to consummate their marriage. He walks over to his dresser. After rummaging around for a few moments, he comes back over with several items in his hands. I watch intently as he removes his pants and tosses them aside. I keep watching as he slips the harness over his legs, securing it at his hips. The phallus that is attached to it is bigger than I expect, and I raise my eyebrows in surprise. And I was like, wait, this is a trans man? Oh! Point in the book's favor. Like, he was a pretty green flag guy. Now he's like a super green flag guy. He says, is this all right? We don't have to. She says, I've never wanted to do anything more in my life. When his mouth meets my center, I nearly jump off the bed. He is an air dragon. I don't know what that means, but I guess that somehow when he's downstairs in this region with his head, air is being used. I don't know. Is he like filling her up like a balloon? Who knows? But then he comes back up from, between her downstairs. They, with his strap, and she finishes, it says, a shrill cry leaves me as my body reaches its crescendo. So it takes a little bit for this to get explained, but it turns out that he is a giver and like never a receiver. He's not interested in being touched that way. The rest of it, not a good book, but the spice in it wasn't bad. And honestly, I'm always going to root for trans men. The next one is Two Can Play by Ali Hazelwood. This one is about two people from two rival video game companies. And of course, like most Ali Hazelwood books, the girl thinks that the guy hates her because she misunderstood something that happened years and years ago. It feels like every other Ali Hazelwood dynamic, and therefore the spicy scene turns out to be the same spicy scene because the dynamic has not changed and she can only write that dynamic in one way. So she does better when she changes the dynamic. So in Bride, the spicy scenes were different because she changed the dynamic of the main characters, where it's not just girl misunderstood, they're still misunderstanding. Like, don't get me wrong, Ali Hazelwood is who she is. She can only write the miscommunication trope. But at least it turned out a little different because the main character is a vampire and the love interest is a werewolf. And then there's the case of Deep End, where they aren't just two people miscommunicating, but it's kink, and that changed the dynamic enough for the sex scenes to be different. The problem with this book is that it's every other Ali Hazelwood book. The spice, she says, except Deep End and Bride, which are the only two that I feel like had spicy scenes that weren't so horrible. But her contemporary books write the same spicy scene over and over and over again. And this is another example of that. And so this book's crime was mostly just repetition issues. So they're, fooling about in the shower until Book's words mixes with shower suds. Perfect. And so then they have this conversation where she's like, we shouldn't have, P and V fooling around time until we get back home. And they're like, yes, agreed. And immediately go back on this. Like within a sentence, they're like, never mind. He f***s her until she's pink and raw, Book's words. And then he pushes into the hilt, Book's words. At first, she's physically uncomfortable, which honestly, it's a breath of fresh air to see us have a conversation about like uncomfortable positions and like switching the positions for you until we like find something that's comfortable. So point in the book's favor because she's like, they're communicating on what to do and she's like, let me be on top. And then it says that he is looking at her shiny folds. So point retracted. And at this point, I'm just so disappointed that we got like nonstop back-to-back spicy scenes that aren't good and no more video game talk, because again, like the dynamic of their two companies working together, and her being more of the role play side and him being more of the action side, the combat side, it is so interesting. And I would have loved to see them like bounce ideas off each other, both as fans of this video game. But instead we're getting lines like, he's so deep I can practically taste him in my mouth. The next one, A Forbidden Encounter, was assault. It was gross. It used disgusting language. A Forbidden Encounter is about a girl who accidentally summoned Asmodeus. I don't know. You guys tell me.
Which one among you horny hoes has not wanted to summon a demon while drunk? The problem is that she did not mean to summon a demon. She was just like, here's a book. Oopsie, I read the words out loud. I wonder what's going to happen.
And it just turns into him being the demon of lust, and she, ends up boinking him only for him to say, oh, now I'm going to take your soul to hell. And then, it says at the end, she reluctantly lets go of her boundaries, which is not a good thing. And, it sounds like assault to me.
Say it again.
Do I have to? She was practically screaming for me. He says that she has to say yes, sir, to whatever he says, which is like basic bitch material. I'm sorry. What is this, 50 Shades? So sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm going to do this thing to you, and you're going to go, yes, sir. And then I'm going to go, good girl. Break.
You nailed it.
This is a demon.
It's a
demon. The demon of lust.
Of lust!
I have never been drier.
Looking up at her.
Right. Okay, here. I'm doing it.
The beast inside of me devoured the innocence that stared down at us. Oh, because he's looking up, so he's devouring her innocence from below.
So is he and the beast two people? So it's an us?
No, but he is about to have a forked tongue. Is that?
That wasn't in the trigger warnings. Why wasn't that in the trigger warnings? I had a visual reaction. I had a physical reaction.
He knew my limits, and over the years, I had reluctantly learned that I didn't have many. How? Either you're begging for him to stop, or you're not begging him to stop. What are we doing? Where was the conversation?
Where was it? Reluctantly is the word. Reluctantly learned.
Reluctantly learned. I don't like that.
I don't like that. No. I know he's a demon. I understand. But this is supposed to be a romance?
The spicy scenes in here were gross, and I just don't understand why we have to write it like that. And also, these are not people to me. Like, it's just cardboard cutouts, and we didn't do anything to justify writing the scenes like that. The next one I read was Spellcaster, which is another dark academia that felt like it was knocking off Harry Potter. A lot of people brought up that it sounded an awful lot like HP fanfic. You can go see the comments of that video if you want to see what I'm talking about, but this is about a girl who goes to magic college in, where are they, Maine? Her father's enemy's son is also at the college, and she thinks, oh, he is here to hurt me. And then these monsters keep popping up on the campus, and she's not sure why. They're all trying to figure it out. And so the book starts by doing this thing where it's like she runs to his room and he's her enemy. Will he save her? Or will he hurt her? And she goes to his room a bunch of times, and in several of the times they end up boinking. And honestly, it's just, I mean, some of the lines in here were so stupid. His power dissolved my underwear. Goes south, and it says, he licked from my ass to the top of my pussy. I'm dead inside. Like, her saying, he just wants me to be his booty witch, and then something odd about her underwear. Just all around, not a good book, not good spicy scenes. Nothing could save that book though. The next one is What Fury Brings by Trisha Levenseller, about a princess who, in her bid for the throne against her cousin, they are in a gender swapped where the men are oppressed in their country. And so she kidnaps an enemy prince who she thinks is one prince, but she actually kidnaps another prince, and he just passes himself off as his brother the whole time. This felt like non-consensual stuff to me most of the time. Like, he was actively saying no while she was doing stuff to him, and it made me super uncomfortable. As punishment, she pinches his nipple, and the book says that it sends a shiver all down his body. So he's angry at it, but he's also turned on. And he tells her, don't fucking touch me. And again, that was sexual assault, and this feels really weird and uncomfortable. He then is tied spread eagle to a bed that is connected to her bedroom. She needs to see how large he is so that she can pick the right size of phallus to mimic his, so that when they eventually bone, he won't make her tear. He's like, you said you wouldn't touch me. And she's like, who says I'm going to? So then she does a strip tease, and she says, did you know my breasts are so large I can lick the nipples myself? He says, show me. She does, and then she arrives and then leaves him there with a rager. I don't know that this is dubcon. This feels like he didn't want to in the first place, and then midway he said, show me how you can do that, and I guess that was the dubious consent. I don't know. All of this sort of feels very iffy to me, and it kind of feels like sexual assault. I don't think that this book is hot. I think that like the dynamic of him having not given consent and saying no, only for her to like give him no agency until eventually he relents, is kind of gross. Does not feel good to me. So I can't root for them in their spicy scenes. There was a part where he finishes because she uses fingers up in his peach, and like, at least that's different than all these other romantasy books. And I get it, we're trying to do something different than the normal romantasy books, but there was no reason to not give this man consent. First and foremost, to not bring him in on the dynamic, and instead it just sort of like the entire book, including up to the end, passes this off as, well, what are you gonna do? I don't like it when Rhysand does it in ACOTAR. I don't like it when Trisha Levenseller does it in a gender swapped romantasy. I find it gross to not establish consent from the jump. Hello, I just realized that I forgot one. I forgot to mention Phantom by H.D. Carlton, which is a prequel to Haunting Adeline, about Adeline's grandmother and her time falling in love with, allegedly, but really just boinking, some guy from the mafia who shows up at her house. Allegedly, they fall in love. I can't claim to have seen it despite reading the book, but what I did see was them having gross sex scenes over and over, including, but not limited to, the very end, because this book ends in what can only be described as a cliff banger. They have sex in a waterfall. If I could live with his head between my thighs, I'd keep him fed for as long as he breathes. He'd never go hungry with me in his mouth. That I can be sure of. Great! Wish we had a plot, because you know who's hungry? Me! I choke, my eyes popping wide from what would have been damn near a violent invasion had I not been sopping wet. A vulgar noise arises when he slowly retreats and then drives back inside me again, earning a sharp cry. A hand curls into my hair and fists tightly. His mouth inches from my ear as he growls, "How cruel is it that Mother Nature spent millions of years forming such a beautiful sight only for you to exceed it within mere minutes?" He's talking about the amount of lubricant she makes. He's saying that her vag makes more lubricant than Mother Nature makes water.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
It's almost too much, and it feels as if the tip of his length is hitting inside of my stomach. Oh, brother. We must be over 100 feet in the air, and he's forcing half my body to hang over the edge. "Ronaldo," I squeal, but he either doesn't care or doesn't hear me. "The harder you struggle, the more you tip over the edge. You wanted to act like a baby, so you're gonna take my cock like one. I'm gonna claim all these tight little holes." My eyes pop wide. "Ronaldo," I screech. "You're mine, Genevieve. I dare you to fight me. I'd love nothing more than to show you just how helpless you are." I feel so full, almost too full. Maybe I'll tell him the truth, that I was your whore and let you fuck me anywhere you wanted. Then maybe I'll tell him how much I prefer your cock over his. I cannot imagine having this conversation during sex. That's my good girl. Oh, there it is. The next one, there was no consent. Oh God, this one is disgusting. Dance Sugar Plum was a Nutcracker retelling, apparently, I don't know really how, where a ballet dancer was assaulted by her stepfather. She's on the run, and well, she's not on the run. She's living out of her car until the guy who's obsessed with her, who also owns a ballet company or something, or is a director, or maybe both. I don't know. The book was really poorly written, so it's not like we can find out. He accepts her into his company and proceeds to immediately start sexually assaulting her. And this is passed off as fine by the narrative when he does it, but not when the stepdad does it. And I just found it gross when both of them did it. I always knew I found her attractive, but I didn't realize I wanted her this badly. What are you talking about? You masturbated on her underwear yesterday! We all saw it! I never imagined her looking up at like I'm her absolution while her little weeps for me. I'm so tired of people saying that a vagina is weeping. I dealt with it way too much in Phantom by H.G. Carlton, and I'm tired. Release me from this prison. I slide the leotard aside. I dig my fingers roughly over the fabric. I don't need any more encouragement than that sound to shred the fine fabric of her tights, separating me from what I'm owed. What you're owed! The subtle tearing sound fades to the wet dip of my fingers entering her. What a weird scent. Sloppy, I tell her, insulting both of us.
Creamy, crispy cracker?
Yes!
She's so thin I can practically feel my fingers inside of her as I start to move. She's so tight I wonder when she was last f***ed properly, and I'm desperate to give her what I know her body needs. And some damn food. Oh, for crying out loud. Another dystopian romance with spicy scenes similar to Silver Elite. Next up is Conform by Ariel Sullivan. I have an entire review on this one. This one, if you took out names, I could not tell you the difference between spicy scenes in this and spicy scenes in several other books, including on this list, because they're so cookie cutter. Apex of her thighs, blah, blah, blah. I think that maybe I would have been like, all right, whatever. You know, it's pretty cookie cutter. If it weren't for the fact that these people have known each other for a week and they don't feel like characters. So if you haven't earned your spice, I'm going to be extra annoyed about it. There was no prompting this time. There was no need for it as he thrust again, his mouth on my neck, and the release was crashing through me. He drove into me again, drawing out wave after wave of pleasure as I shattered around us. Wave of pleasure shattered around us. This is why it sounds like Fourth Wing. Dragging my nails down his back, he groaned against my climax. He groaned against my climax? How do you... Unless he's down there, which he's not, how do you groan against it? I don't know. The last one on the list is honestly not a complaint. It's Falling by Christina Lauren. Now, I have some complaints about the plot holes in this book, the like logistical holes, but what I don't have a problem is the other holes. Ha! Ew, that was a gross joke. This is about a incubus. Sorry I said succubus. I didn't know that if it's a man, it's an incubus. It's about an incubus, I think. It never uses that word, but he's also a fallen angel, but his backstory makes absolutely no sense. But I liked this because I had watched Dracula, A Love Tale at around the same time, and I just sort of sandwiched these things together to make a better story because I didn't like the end of the movie and I didn't like the beginning of this book and the logistical pothole. So I just sandwiched it together and decided to have a good time with both. I ended up giving this like a 3.5 because it's about a fallen angel who, I already like fallen angel stories, who is an incubus, I think, and he meets this girl who just broke up with her boyfriend, and he's looking for somebody who can break his curse of immortality. And so he does his, he goes to a party to do his, incubus stuff, and he comes across our main character, Kat, and she might be the one to break the spell. But the spicy scene in this I thought was honestly not bad. He commanded her to be soaking wet, and for some reason I'm just kind of icked out by that. They do the do, and it's great. And honestly, this was a good spicy scene after the commands to be soaking wet. After that, I was like, oh, this is well written. I'm not weirded out. I don't feel like it's overly wordy in a gross way. I'm very picky about that. You can feel differently. This is not like, I'm not prescribing anything onto you, but this was fine. Like genuinely fine. Like I'm going to do a wrap up of all of the spicy scenes that I read for the year, and this one was fine. And I've read a lot of not fine ones. Looking up the length of her naked body, he imagined being a different kind of monster. For the first time in his existence, he understood the instinct to draw blood, to drink it. The language that it uses, like I understand this, it makes sense to me, even though the whole biting of the cat is the cat and her name's Cat. The other cat, the downstairs cat, not my thing. But he doesn't do it. He just understands the urge. And you know what? I get it. Like I understand the need to like bite. And I think that's an understandable thing to think. It also says things like, in one thrust, he was inside the feel of her, stunning his senses so thoroughly that for a moment all he could do was lean against her, pinning her to the wall. And you know what? Again, like the language in this, I feel like every scene I read is either disgusting or it sounds exactly like every other scene ever. And this is not that. And I was really pleasantly surprised by this. He knew with every passing second that the chances of someone happening upon them increased, grew almost certain, but Brigand couldn't let himself find his own release because it was already too perfect. Once he finished, then what would become of him? How would he find satisfaction with anything less than this? And it says, this is what madness feels like, to want to exist in a moment that isn't reality. And this is the only other time that I've ever seen a spicy scene say the word madness that has not given me the ick, which we know has happened because if you remember Gothicana, which I do, the word madness is used in a spicy scene in a way that, like, honest to God, made me feel nauseous. This is our madness. Like, please stop. But in here, it makes sense. What a relief it was to know that he couldn't fall in love with her, was incapable of it, because if this was a fraction of love, he would never be able to let her out of his sight. Not a bad way to end the year. I did try to read one more book that I know is spicy, which is Swallowed by Meg Smitherman. I really didn't like it because some of the dialogue, it was really odd and juvenile. Like people were calling each other like dillweed. I was really just not having a good time. So I ended up DNFing, but I know that one gets spicy and it has to do with like horny plants, which sounded really good, but I couldn't get past the dialogue. So that would have been on this list as the last thing I read this year if I had not DNF'd it while I was on vacation. I really thought it was going to be good. I think Natalie, my best friend, will probably complain about this in another video. So let her know that I warned you about this, but she's reading like similar books. And I was like, oh, we should read this other one I know is also about horny plants. I've heard it's good. And I genuinely thought it would be a good time. And I feel bad because we were both like within 30%. We're like, oh no, this is not what I thought it was going to be, which was a disappointment. I'm still willing to read the other book by that author, Thrum, which is also, I think, kind of horny. Somebody emailed me months and months ago. I think her name was Daisy. Hi. And she was like, hey, I think you're really gonna like this book. It ticks boxes for you. I think that's what her email said. I don't remember. But Thrum was the one that I was actually gonna read, and then I ended up picking up Swallowed because Natalie was reading something similar. I'm like, what? ¿Por qué no los dos? Like, why don't we do both? And then it wasn't good. So I DNF'd. I think she's gonna continue, so maybe she'll review both. I'm sorry, Natalie, I failed you. I really thought the book was gonna be good. That's all the spicy books that I read in 2025, or at least that's the ones I wrote down. Those are my thoughts on them. And if I have to pick the winner for worst, I think it's going to be Dance Sugar Plum or Nocticadia, but A Forbidden Encounter was also really bad. So out of those, I think, well, Dance Sugar Plum is the one I read the most recently, and I think that one is not sitting right in my spirit. So that one definitely, I'm going to go with Dance Sugar Plum. It really, really was disgusting. The language used, the consent dynamics, all of it just very gross. But The Beast was also super gross. No, I think Dance Sugar Plum was probably worse than The Beast. And if I have to pick which one is best, it's hard because, again, like, I think The Everlasting was my favorite, but this is not supposed to be like a spicy book. So if I have to pick a book that was intending to be spicy, it's definitely Guarding Temptation by Talia Hibbert. So those are best and worst sex scenes that I read in 2025. Let me know what yours were, and let me know what ones I should tackle in 2026. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.
And before I go, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Therapy Bills patrons. I will say that these no longer show up on Patreon in alphabetical order, so sorry about that. And those thank yous go to Lex, SJ, Eric, Peggy Lou, Quinn, Rain, Scarlett, John E, Alexander, Samar, Ashley H, DJ Rocktopus, Kaleno K, Emerald Dodge, Ellie, Minby, Steph B, Lemon Jelly, Mixer Boneless, Lily, 3 Raccoons in a Trench Coat, Lady Chips Loves Pride, Call Me Kodiak, Ree Mirage, Katya, Melissa, Kai Brecker has not read 6 of Crows, Lex, Megwin, Maddie Miss, Not So Secretly a Skeleton, Jory, Piloting SRN, Bex, Fox Waifu, Charlie Bear, Ricky Strong. Thank you all so much for being here and for being a friend. And a quick thank you to my Potato Starch Marxists, Evie, Carlin, Paige P, Sean, Sarah the Bear, Jill, Talia, Corwin, Andy Mations, Darren, Tito Phoenix, Might Be a Magpie, Martin, Artie the Ninth, Hannah C, Shamed, Ava, Malara, Rachel B, Rebecca, Baywing, Amanda, Lustful Octopus, Lady Kittybug, Angelica, Jenny G, JM Tennant, Jay is on Olympus, Laughing Cat Dog, Dorothea Supports Public Education, Nicole G, Colleen, Sarah H, Sheen Onion, Fox Club, Danielle M, Kendra, Sakoria, Kayala, Sadie Selby, Bookish Rabbit, Caitlin M, Rosie Thorns, Penny Chilling, Katie L, Lou Siri, Aaron with 2 E's, Jen Michelle, LP, Jojo Bookish, Jessa Sue, Lazarus Ray, Casper, Genderqueer, Jelly V, Lauren G, Man-Eating Plant, Kate W, Sakia Lume, Lindsay M, Gadarn, Dilf Enthusiast, KMTV, Kaylee Carpenter, Alejandra, Desiree Michelle, Darius, Triple M, Saintbringer, Bookish B, Bookish by Jenna, Althea, Megan, Francis, Kate B, Plague Carrier, Jackalope Max, Queen Cereal, Pandemonium, Mataraptor, Rosemary K, Drive By Thinker, Juicy Wizard, Sophie L, Barry B, I Like My Women Like I Like My Books Thick, Mima Who, Katrina, Unicorn Jenny, That One Cute Chick, Hurry Sing, Myth Lesbian, This Is Not a Trap, Laura is Angry, Rhea Slagle, Morgan, Celeste, Macy Jane, Aaron S, Danita M, Cosmic Frog, Jesse, Rach, Kayla Alexander Kenny, Ren, Natural Blues, NM Rap, Che, Jing, Katuary, Taz, Miss Fox and Arda, Mac, Junie for Now, Gabby Z, T Foxbones, Pi, Adian, Mia, Fishy Fish, Chloe M, Luke has sleep token brain rot, hell yeah. Kath, Kellen R, Blubbles the Fish, Cass Plays, Jesse M. Thank you all so much for being here and for being a friend.